Over the past several decades, Western Christianity has downplayed the fear of God. It is considered counterproductive or too negative to talk about God's wrath and punishment. There are very few sermons about eternal judgment in a lake of fire. Some people deny the existence of a lake of fire. When Christians do talk about the fear of God, they often erroneously define the fear of God as admiration. Instead, the trend today is to overemphasize God's mercy and grace. People only want to hear about the positive side of God. The standard practice in churches today is to present God as a lovable teddy bear who will never hurt anyone. The third chapter of Habakkuk reminds us that when we open the Bible and read about the acts of Yahweh, we should be afraid. Habakkuk lived during a time when the Israelites were very sinful and idolatrous. Yahweh elevated Habakkuk, as well as others, as one of his prophets to speak against the sins of the Israelites. The first two chapters of Habakkuk speak against violence, strife, contention, injustice, treachery, and idolatry. There are woes against greed, evil gain, bloodshed, abuse, and graven images. The third chapter is a prayer of Habakkuk. Habakkuk put a major break between chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 3 is a prayer that can stand alone. It is related to the message of the first two chapters, but it can also be understood without reading the first two chapters. Habakkuk 3, verse 1. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet according to Shigionoth. Chapter 3 has an opening line that is very similar to the opening line of many of the Psalms. This chapter is a prayer. It was according to Shigionoth. I think Shigionoth was the tune it was sung to. Verse 2. O Yahweh, I have heard the report about you, and I fear. O Yahweh, revive your work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years make it known. In rage remember compassion. When Habakkuk heard about Yahweh, he was afraid. He asked Yahweh to remember compassion in the midst of his rage. Apparently, when Habakkuk heard about Yahweh, he heard about Yahweh's rage. That is what caused him to be afraid. Rightly so, because Yahweh is so powerful that when he is enraged, he can destroy anything and everything if he so chooses. Today, it is out of vogue to talk about the fear of God. Many pastors and theologians erroneously try to claim the fear of God as simply revering or admiring God. Most Christians overemphasize God's compassion and grace. His wrath and justice are shunned and denied. God certainly is compassionate and gracious. However, the Bible is clear that Yahweh is also wrathful and avenging. When Habakkuk heard about Yahweh, he heard about Yahweh's rage and justice, so he was afraid. He knew that if he rebelled against Yahweh, he could face consequences. When we read the Bible, we see many examples of Yahweh punishing those who rebel against him and do evil. That should cause us to be afraid of rebelling against Yahweh. Verse 3. God comes from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His splendor covers the heavens, and the earth is full of his praise. His brightness is like the sunlight. He has rays flashing from his hand, and there is the hiding of his strength. Verses 3 and 4 describe Yahweh's splendor. Verse 5. Before him goes pestilence, and plague comes after him. Verse 5 teaches us that Yahweh can and does use pestilence and plague as tools. That is a reason to be afraid of disobeying Yahweh. Verse 6. He stood and measured out the earth. He looked and startled the nations. So the perpetual mountains were shattered. The ancient hills collapsed. His ways are everlasting. Verse 6 is a statement about Yahweh's power. He has the power to measure the earth, startle the nations, shatter the mountains, and collapse the hills. His power will also last forever. Verse 7. I saw the tents of Cushan under wickedness. The tent curtains of the land of Midian were trembling. The land of Midian saw the power of Yahweh, and they trembled. When we read in the Bible about Yahweh's power, we should also tremble. Many Christians do not want to hear about God's wrath. Very few pastors and theologians teach about it. Instead, modern Christianity overemphasizes God's mercy and compassion. However, when Habakkuk heard the report about Yahweh, he was afraid because the report told him about Yahweh's rage. Yes, when we read the Bible, we see examples of God's compassion and protection, but there are also examples of God's wrath and punishment. Non-Christians should be afraid of God because he can and will send all non-Christians to an eternity in a lake of fire. Christians do not have to fear the lake of fire, but every Christian will stand in front of God and give an account of every word and deed of our life. That reality should make us afraid to sin against God. Thanks for visiting Bible Mountain. If you have already joined my email list, thank you, and please forward this to someone else who would benefit from visiting Bible Mountain. If you have not joined my email list yet, please do so now. My email list is free. In order to join, go to BibleMountain.com, click on email, and that will take you to a page where you can sign up. Your email address will not be sold nor given away. Once again, thanks for visiting Bible Mountain.